let's talk certification on your part.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in my industry, there's a lot of regulations. There's, do I manufacture good manufacturing practices? There's, you can be state regulated, you can be FDA regulated, you can be a certified organic facility. So there's a lot of different types of regulations. There's some that I opt out of only because it's additional red tape and paperwork that I have to go through that isn't really necessary for the majority of the products that I produce. So, but if you wanted to use something that you're going to make a claim on, if you're going to want to create a product that has like SPF or something like that, you're going to have to make sure your factory is an FDA certified factory. You want to make sure they have all their good manufacturing practices, their GMPs in place. And again, it's always good to go visit the factory. It's even in China. I mean, when I go on trips to China and I help people out there, I see so much advantage come from people actually going and visiting their factories and seeing really what's going on. And, like Kian was saying, just like hands-on, you can see how they're making your products, and it allows you to have more knowledge and awareness on, places that you might be able to cut back on and things like that. So, you can see visually the cleanliness, the organization, the staff, sometimes just the mannerisms of the actual people working can tell you a lot about a factory. And is it a fun place to work, or is it like horrible conditions?
Yeah. No, it makes total sense. And goes back to certification. When something's a ball ache like that, it's also a defensive mechanism as well. Because there are people, like everyone wants to go the least path of resistance. Yeah. So if you can jump through hoops, who's an example? Brock Johnson, he done the Eclipse Glasses. He made a killing. He done 6 million. I can't remember the numbers, but there's a lot of numbers. And basically he did his due diligence. He went in and I think he was one of 2 or one of 3 people. So then when Amazon cleared the path because no one was regulated properly, he went in and killed it, done it on multiple SKUs, massive sales. So there are cases, which I'll throw again to Steve and then on to Kian, is that certification is great because it's a barrier to entry. So it reduces the level of your competition.
Yep. Well, one of the things I would say, so first of all, like somebody like Angie is highly trustworthy, right? So this is not a problem. When she has the right certifications, the right certificates and regulatory compliance things, you can trust that, no problem, because she's 100% awesome. The reality though is in China, just because they say ISO 9,000 or 14,001 or, just because they have that stuff, it doesn't mean anything. Let me just tell you, I've watched ISO guys come in, which is a miracle on its own that they actually showed up. And then they went right out the side door where they're on their way to karaoke and drinking, right? They had no interest in actually doing anything in terms of inspection. So you have to be what I'm saying is the onus is on you, the buyer, to really make sure that the regulatory compliance is being met. And that goes to what Kian said earlier. You better have your own lab testing. You better have your own audit process to make sure you know what you're getting. And that's why Disney and Mattel and all those guys got caught with their pants down when lead showed up in their toys. If they were just doing simple audits in China and then again in the United States, randomly, they would have caught it way earlier before tens of millions of pieces were produced and shipped and played with by kids. So, compliance and certification is step one. Trust, but then verify. And man, oh man, we get lab tests done like regular basis. Every day there's lab tests happening.
Yeah, and they're not cheap, but they're worth it if they're done properly, and obviously it's affordable to do within the launch of your product. Because sometimes it can be a real costly affair, and it's prohibited to like sellers with less cash flow, should we say? So, Kian, do you want to add anything here?
Yeah, I mean, like I ask for every single product, to have the appropriate testing done. But one thing you have to be very careful of is that, quite often factories tell you, oh yeah, no problem, we have that testing done. And then they'll show you an example of a product test, but it's for another brand that they've manufactured for. So just remember that testing certificate is for someone else's brand and it's not for yours. So if you are importing anything into your home country, you have to have testing certificates with your company name on it, because that's the only thing that's ever going to protect you. The other thing is, I know, as you said, it's a very big barrier to entry because for some products, it doesn't cost too much to test. And some factories actually have their own internal testing processes, where I've been in factories where they have all the right machinery to test. But for some other products, it's very expensive. And I know a friend of mine spent over $100,000 on product testing for her products. And that's a massive hit to take. But you know what? As soon as other people in her category get flagged up, she's going to be the only one standing, because she's actually gone through the effort of actually like paying that cost. So you might as well do it now and get it out of the way. It's only going to be more and more important in the future. And the other thing is that I know Amazon sellers who've put their life savings into a product and then got stung because they've had returns, and then they failed testing, and then they weren't able to sell their product. So it really is that important.
Yeah. Yeah. And if I could jump in, Danny, just one quick pro tip here is usually when it comes to testing, first of all, the factories will always give you kind of what you ask for. Even as far as you push them, you'll probably get it. It doesn't necessarily mean it's qualified. I just say that in a very liberal sense. But we have a deal with the factories that if it passes, then we pay for the test. And if it fails, they pay for the test. And that's one way to just kind of make sure that they know that they're in it with us. And so, you know, that's one deal that you can make with your factory to say, we're going to use this factory or this laboratory. There's many laboratories that can help you with all kinds of tests all across China. And in many ways, you can do qualification tests. You don't have to, like a formaldehyde, you know, chamber test is really, really expensive, but you can do other tests that may give you indicative results that, that don't go to the same level of expense.